Now, at the weekend, the Engineers Excellence Awards were announced. The aim of these awards is to celebrate the contribution that engineers and engineering makes to society. It's a profession that is poorly understood and is often overlooked, but they're involved in almost every aspect of life, from healthcare to communications to infrastructure. Well, at the weekend, EirGrid was the overall winner, and I am joined now by its programme director, John Fitzgerald, and also by the Director General of Engineers Ireland, John Power. Thank you both very much indeed for coming in to us this morning. John Fitzgerald, I'll go to you first of all. I mean, congratulations on winning the overall project of the year. Can you just explain to us what exactly is the project and what have you done to win the award?
Well, the project is essentially a large energy link between ourselves and Britain for the first time, and it's a DC project. It consists of about 264 kilometres of underground cable in the roads and underneath the sea, buried in the seabed. From in County Meath over to Deeside near Liverpool. It's actually in North Wales, and that is the project. And essentially there are two structures in both countries, and they convert the DC back to AC for use in our homes. So it's a very large link, and there's also communication facilities there as well. So
it's transporting electricity to and from the UK, from Ireland. Yeah. What has this meant for stability, if you like, for energy in Ireland?
Well, it's increased security of supply, and we're delighted that it's been highly demanded, and it's putting downward pressure on energy prices. Today, energy prices are lower. Studies have been carried out.
Because we're able to import from the UK?
Because we're able to trade with the UK.
And what about us exporting electricity via this cable?
Well, it works both ways. So we can, when the economics and exchange rates dictate, it can export as well. So it can work both ways, and it gives us greater security supply, greater competition, and it's a fantastic facility, first of its kind. We're delighted. The technology is cutting edge, and the converter stations are the largest of their kind in the world, and we're delighted that it's been done on time and under budget.
And can you just tell me, I mean, from an engineering point of view, to get a cable carrying that much electricity and put it under the Irish Sea, how difficult was it? And where is that cable under the Irish Sea? How do you know boats aren't going to drag it up or whatever?
Well, a lot of work went into that, and it is a very, very challenging project, and the technology has moved on from the first days of the North Sea exploration, and the equipment is just mind-staggering, some of the equipment that's been used. We've trenched it.
Trenched it? What's that mean? You've buried it?
We've buried it in the sea, approximately 1 metre underneath the seabed, and where it wasn't possible to do so, where there were crossings, we mattressed it. And
what does that mean?
It's essentially putting a concrete mattress on top of another cable, and then putting your cable. So it's a means of crossing other infrastructure, and there's a fair amount of infrastructure in the Irish Sea.
And just how big is it, the cable?
The cable is no larger than, the cross section is that of about a CD. So a compact.
Really, just that size?
Internally, yeah, but we also have to protect it, and it's quite a heavy cable, and it took 2 years to manufacture. The largest cable laying vessel in the world ever was used in the installation, so like it's 187
So it
kilometres.
really is a massive project.
Yeah.
So well-deserved win, it would sound, anyway.
Well, we're delighted, yes.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I mean, John Power, you're Director General of Engineers Ireland. It is true that people don't really think about engineers that much. You know, you're not celebrated as a profession in the same way maybe medics are, for example. And yet you're involved in almost every aspect of what we do.
Yeah, I think that's a very reasonable point, Keelan, because, you know, engineering is all around us every day for the 24 hours of the day. And if one just thinks of, for very briefly, in terms of the energy we use, the water we drink, the communications we employ, the medication we use, just to name but a few, all of those is heavily dependent on engineering.
And how many engineers are there in Ireland?
Approximately 65,000 to 70,000 altogether.
That many?
Yeah.
Working in Ireland?
Working in Ireland, yeah. Now, they're not all working in engineering, but that's one of the beauties of engineering, because we're taught to be problem solvers in college. We can diverse into any walk of life, essentially. And most companies do require engineers.
Somewhere or other in the organisation.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is interesting is the number of Irish engineers who are working overseas. I mean, just how well recognised, if you like, is the Irish education system for engineers?
Well, the Irish engineers have traditionally been making an enormous impact overseas, and just maybe to mention one or two of them, the Sydney Opera House, for example, which is an iconic building worldwide, was essentially constructed by an Irish engineer.
Really?
Who had to take over the project when the engineer on site couldn't complete it, and he was only 30 years of age. And that's the Sydney Opera House. And more recently, we've had, for example, the chief executive and chairman of Chevron in the United States, a graduate of the city, an Irish-trained engineer. And there's many, many more examples of it. Indeed, I think it's reasonable to suggest that Irish engineers, when they go overseas, certainly excel, because they're generally very, very good communicators, and they get on very, very well with people. They work with people, and we've done very, very well.
That's
now,
really interesting.
You know, there's a lot of engineers obviously overseas at the moment, many of them by their own choice, and thankfully they're doing very, very well.
Okay, well, listen, and very briefly, you wanted to mention registration of engineers here.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important from the future of the country's perspective that the vast majority of jobs in this country are going to come through the technology sector, and engineers are going to be critical to that. And it's quite extraordinary in our view that we don't have statutory registration for the engineering profession in Ireland. It's something we would certainly welcome the government taking a long, hard look at.
Okay, well, listen, on that note, listen, John Power and John Fitzgerald, thank you both very much indeed for coming in to us this morning.